let's dive in. Previously on Dragon Ball Z, the two people in this text conversation were close friends for about 9 years. The Reddit poster is the woman in this story, and her male friend here had recently professed his love for her in a pretty creepy way. The feeling wasn't mutual, so it led to a bit of a disconnect between the two of them, and in an act of desperation, the male friend calls in the cringe artillery and starts bombarding her with memes, to which she finally responds, "Hey, I appreciate the memes." Real quick, I'd like to come in here with a PSA. I recognize that in the current climate of things, there's a lot of people that have lived their entire lives online without any actual social interaction, so I want this to be a teachable moment. Don't send memes as some kind of last-ditch Hail Mary. Like, if you let something rip and it's not reciprocated, spamming memes isn't going to salvage the situation, it's only going to make it worse and even weirder. Her saying, "I appreciate the memes," is just a lie. No one's ever going to say that. Those words have probably not left a human being's mouth ever. Good morrow, sailor. I really appreciate the exquisite memes you've shared with me today. I was a little perturbed with our last conversation, but now that you've sent 1,000 memes, I see you've got a good heart. Thank you for this. And I'm speaking from experience here. I'm very knowledgeable in this field. I'm the authority on this matter. I've told this story before, but I'll just briefly repeat it. The very first girl I was ever flirting with and exchanging text messages with was back in high school, and she did not feel the same way about me as I did her. And in my weakest moments, I turned to the dark side and consulted the Sith Lords, and was advised to try and maybe like send goofy memes and ASCII art, because that was big back in the day. So I did. And guess what? It didn't fucking solve anything, it just made it even worse. I know how uncomfortable that must have been for her. So yeah, that is not the right play, to just start spamming memes and shit. But anyway, she continues the message by saying that she's only ever thought of him as a close friend and never really viewed him in a romantic way. So when he professed her love, it made things a little weird. They grew distant, they grew a bit hostile, but she thinks they can be friends again just as long as it's very clear that there is no romantic feelings in this relationship. She's just laying down the brass tacks and making things very clear, to which he responds, "I certainly had my head on backwards, but as my friend, I really think you're fucking adorable, and every trip I've ever taken with you is so fucking precious. I've heard of a Japanese word called shibumi, and it's basically authority without dominance. Call me a simp, but I really think you have that." Code red, he's not taking no for an answer. Jinkies, we're going too deep. He just busted out shibumi. Jesus Christ, we're in the end game now. Lord help us. He continues to spaghetti dump here for the novel that he's writing her. There's steam coming off of the touchscreen pad as he's writing. The most important takeaway here is a very specific line, a buzzword that gets dropped that I think is very important that we highlight. He says, "Sometimes it feels like my chivalrous interest with you is underappreciated or just unappreciated sometimes." The reason I point that out is because I'm pretty confident that the word chivalry is used exclusively by creeps. I don't think there's been a documented case of a normal person saying chivalry, especially not in this context. It's just like an immediate red flag word to drop, especially when saying that my chivalrous interest is underappreciated, it's not valued enough. It's just some certified weirdo Redditor energy, like tip in the hat, "M'lady, it's no problem, you're welcome for holding the door open for you. Chivalry isn't dead, am I right?" I'm the perfect example. No, of course, I'm just kidding, I jest. Chivalry can't die, because to die, it would imply that it was ever alive in the first place. Only a living thing can experience death, and chivalry is not a living thing, it's an idea, more of a social code per se. He continues on, and then eventually tells her that she should like one of them so he doesn't feel crazy, to which he says, "You're not crazy, I just need some time to think." Which I think is a perfectly reasonable response to all of this, but he gives her no time to think and immediately just comes back to, please, let me find favor in your eyes." I'm assuming he heard that in some kind of like indie song at some point, so he tried to throw that in here to see if it'd work. So he's going full-blown Robert Frost now. Even then drops a picture saying, "Daydream with me," and it's like the sun rising. So it's getting very emotional in here. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because it's him once again just begging for any kind of reciprocation, to which she just keeps saying she just needs some time to process all of this. but he's extremely impatient. His foot is fully on the gas and there's no turning back now. He is full throttle invested in all of this. He's using every possible cliche line imaginable, but he's not finding any favor in her eyes. It just keeps going. You're valid. Never really heard the extent of why I'm your friend, so now he's like interrogating her. Why am I your buddy? Why am I your pal, huh? Tell me. I could tell you all day why you're my friend. Your voice is fucking music. I think you're brilliant. Just a brilliant person to be around. Really wish I could hug you. Fuck. This hurts. Then again, she reiterates, I need time to think. I will reach out when I'm ready. And now we've finally gotten past the introduction here and we're entering the climax. Welcome to the wacky zone. He once again gives her no time to reach out or process any of this. He reaches out pretty soon after everything, only a couple of days, and says, so is there any chance as your friend I could send you something explicit? She says, what do you mean? And then he goes, NSFW, which I'm sure all of you know what that means, but I'll break it down anyway. Not safe for work. Of course, she wasn't expecting this curveball, so she says, are you trying to make a joke right now? And then he goes, no, kind of a gamble. I will say this is a historic moment. You are witnessing the worst gamble in history. Congratulations, we all got to be a part of this. This is, by far, the absolute worst possible fucking gamble you could ever make. This is like betting 100% of your life savings on me getting taller. What the fuck are you, I don't understand how you think an out-of-nowhere nudie is going to somehow win her over and, somehow solve all of these problems. I just can't even understand that mindset, really. It just doesn't compute. Okay, I tried all the lovey-dovey, really mushy-gushy stuff with the favor in your eyes, your voice is like magic, or music. It didn't work. So let's try something a little more primal. Wiener. What about penis? Eureka! This might be the answer. Let's try it. She's once again just trying to make sure she fully understands the lunacy going on here, so she says, are you asking me if you can send me something sexually explicit? Respectfully. What a gentleman. A fedora tip to you, my gentle sir. That is sophisticated. Very respectful. Milady, doth thou wish to gaze upon my meat? And then he sends her a dick pic with his pinky out while holding it. An incredibly interesting play here, as if somehow his cock was going to hypnotize her and make her fall in love with him. So she eventually responds by pointing out how weird this whole interaction has become. She still only ever viewed them as friends and will only ever view him as a friend, and that she's very disappointed that he can't even respect that she wants some time to herself to process this entire weird interaction. She also drops a bombshell at the end by mentioning that she's currently in a relationship, so that was a big plot twist. This goober is doing all of this to a girl who is not interested and also in a relationship. The odds couldn't be more against him. Now, she used a word at the end that's about to change the entire course of this interaction. She said, it sucked when you went all incel on me towards the end. That word, I had a big voice crack there, that's how powerful that word is. That one word ruffled this guy's feathers so much. You're about to see a full-blown ballistic breakdown from it. I respect that. Also, if I'm an incel, you're toxic, so let's not name call. She's toxic because she doesn't want to fuck him. Why is that even in your argument that I can't get someone? I can.